In this video, we are going to look at the natural macromolecules, where we are going to look at the molecules like carbohydrates. Then we need to look at the proteins, then also look at the fat. So we'll cover the monomers for each molecule, then how to draw the structure, and also the linkage given for each molecule. So here we are saying we are looking at the natural macromolecule. So macromolecule, the word macro means a very large substance. Now, if we say macromolecule, we are looking at the molecules that are very large. So the first one, we'll consider the carbohydrates. So carbohydrate is an example of a macromolecule. Now, carbohydrate is a food stuff made by plants through the process of photosynthesis. Now, we need to look at the elements that are found in carbohydrates. So, under carbohydrates, we have carbon, hydrogen, and the oxygen. Then we can also assign the general formula for these carbohydrates. We have CX, H2X, or X. So where X is a multiple of 6. So this simply means that we can substitute X with 6, so we get C6. Then 2 times 6 here, we have 12 atoms of hydrogen, then O6. So this is the general formula for most of these carbohydrates. Now, the other thing that we are going to look at, we need to look at what are the monomers that are used whenever we want to form the carbohydrate or during the formation of carbohydrates. So we need to have the monomers such as glucose. Plus we can let's just use 2 molecules, which is 2 monomers of glucose. So glucose plus glucose, here we are going to have the polymer. In our case, our polymer is the carbohydrate plus water. So remember, even these natural macromolecules such as carbohydrate are also formed by condensation polymerization. So under condensation polymerization, water is also part of the product. Now let's look at the structure of this glucose. So this glucose has this structure where we say the box denotes 6 atoms of hydrogen, of carbons. So since we are using 2, we use the 2 structures only. So from there, we need to eliminate the molecules, the parts that will form water. So from this, we can say here, we are going to get rid of hydroxide. Then from here, we get rid of the hydrogen. So then we are going to connect whatever that remains. So we have this hydrogen, oxygen, then we have this box here. Then this bond and this remaining bond will connect. Then we'll have oxygen, this bond here, the box OH here plus the water. So this is the structure of a carbohydrate. In some boxes, you may find it to be starch. Now, let's look at the linkage that we have under carbohydrate. So we can see that we have 2 glucose. So this is the glucose, also this is the glucose. So the linkage is anything in between the 2 monomers or functional groups. So in our case, our linkage is this one here. So this is the linkage under carbohydrate. So we have the linkage, and we call this linkage as the glycosidic bond. So whenever you encounter a question where the question is asking you to determine the linkage under carbohydrate is just the glycosidic bond, then we can see that the formula, we can represent this glycosidic bond by just writing it like this. So it is just like this. So whenever you see this linkage here, we have what we call a glycosidic bond. So this is what we can know about the formation and the structure of carbohydrates. Now let's move on to proteins. So proteins are also macromolecules. Now the first thing is we need to look at the atoms or elements that we are expecting to have in proteins. So we have hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen. Then the building blocks for proteins are the amino acids. Then also the same amino acids, we are saying these are our monomers. So whenever we have questions like determine the monomer that is used or that are used during the formation of proteins, we have the amino acid. So for the word equation, we can say amino acid plus C amino acid. Then the products, we are saying we need to have protein plus C water. So this is also another example of condensation polymerization. Now let's look at the structure for amino acid. So the amino acid has this structure. There is this functional group for, we have the amine functional group. Then we have the box here. We also have the carboxylic acid as functional group. So each amino acid has two functional groups. There is amine, this one here. This is our amine. Then this is our carboxylic function. So plus another amino acid here. Okay, so we are going to follow the same pattern. So one of these two monomers, one of these amino acid, one will contribute hydroxide, the other one will contribute hydrogen to give us the molecule of water. So we'll say this bond here will break, then also this bond here will break, then we'll connect whatever that remains. So we can see that this part here will just be the same. So we have N with two atoms of hydrogen, carbon. Then we have this part here. Then this bond and this bond will combine to give us the full bond, where we are going to have now N, this hydrogen here. Then we have this party. Then with the carboxylic functional group plus C water. So this is how you can draw the structure of a protein from the two monomers of the amino acids. Now let's look at the linkage. So the linkage is anything in between these two parties here. So the linkage is this one, the one that have circled in green. So we can see that this is what we call an amide linkage. Now the formula for amide linkage is NHCO. So NHCO. Then if we had to compare, if the question were to name another macromolecule or a polymer that has a similar linkage as in proteins, is the nylon. So if you remember, or maybe for those that may not know this, there is a video that I posted on the nylon and the terylene. So the nylon and the proteins, these two, they share the same linkage. Even nylon has the amide linkage. The only difference is the nylon is a synthetic. This means that nylon are just man-made, while proteins are just natural macromolecules. That's the difference. But the similarities, they share the same linkage. They both have the amide linkage with the formula NHCO. So this is how we can look at the structure. So we've looked at how we can draw the structure of a protein molecule from the two monomers of amino acid. Then we also looked at how we can identify the type of linkage, which is the amide linkage. Now, since we have some ideas about proteins, let's also look at now the fats. Now for the fats, the first one that we are going to know is these are esters. And whenever we look at esters, we need to look at an ester is formed from an alcohol and a carboxylic acid. Now, so from the monomers of fats, we are going to see that we have the glycerol and the fat acids. So from the names, we can see that these are carboxylic acids, the fat acids. Then the glycerol represents the alcohol. Thus the name fats, or that's why we concluded by saying fats are esters. So they made from alcohol and acids. Now let's look at the word equation. So the word equation we have glycerol plus fat acids. Then we are going to have fat as a polymer plus water. Then the structure for a glycerol is this one. So we can see OH, which is for alcohol. Then we need to have the carboxylic acid. So we are going to remove hydroxide from the fat acid and hydrogen from the glycerol so that we can form the molecule of water. Then we are going to connect the remaining part here. Okay, so now since we know the structure, then let's look at how do we identify the linkage that was formed. So the linkage is this part here. Now let's look at the formula. So the formula for this linkage is COO, and this linkage is known as ester linkage. Now, if earlier we said the proteins share the same linkage with nylon, now let's look at which macromolecule share the same linkage with the fats. So the macromolecule, a polymer that shares the same linkage with the fat, is the pterylene. So pterylene has also an ester linkage. The difference also here is pterylene is a man-made, while fats, these are natural macromolecules. So this is what we can look at some of these natural macromolecules. Now let's look at how question now comes under examinations. Okay, so now we can try to put the information that we've gathered into good use. So I have a question from 2018. So I just want to show you how we can put that information into practice. So the question is, both fats and proteins are natural polymers. Name the synthetic polymer that has the same linkage as it. So the fats are natural. So we are looking at, we want to name the polymers that are made by human beings with the same linkage as in fats. So these are pterylene. So pterylene and fats, they share the same linkage. Then for proteins will have nylon. So then for Roman number 1, draw the type of linkage found in the synthetic polymer named in A1 above and name the linkage. So in A1, we are looking at the linkage that is found in fats. So here we have this linkage. So this is the linkage. Then remember the chemical formula we said is COO. Then the name of this linkage is ester linkage. Then from there, let's look at Roman number 2. Synthetic polymers are non-biodegradable. So what is meant by non-biodegradable? So molecules or substances that are considered to be non-biodegradable, these are substances that cannot be broken down or that cannot decay by natural means. By we are saying, even if let's say, for example, if we take a plastic, no matter how long you may bury it, you still find it broken. So the key point is these synthetic polymers, most of these cannot be broken down by natural means. Natural means, we are saying, they cannot be broken down by the fungi or by the decomposers. So we can say these are substances that cannot be broken down by natural means. So this is one of the way in which we can define, but there are so many ways. We can also, these are polymers, these are molecules. The key point is they cannot be broken down or they cannot decompose by natural means. That's a key point here. Okay, so now we move on to question C. The structure displayed below is for another natural polymer. So we have this polymer here. Now the first question is, name this polymer. So you can name a polymer like this one based on the structure if you've committed the structure to memory, or you can name the structure like this one by determining the linkage that we have. So for us to see the linkage, we need to look at anything in between the two boxes. So this is giving us the linkage, and whenever you have this linkage, this is what we call a glycosidic bond. Now what type of polymers have this kind of linkage? So the polymer with this linkage is carbohydrate. So this is our answer. Or the point is, whenever you see this glycosidic bond in a structure, just know that you're dealing with a carbohydrate. Then let's look at Roman number 2. Is this polymer an addition or a condensation polymer? Give a reason for your answer. So this is a condensation polymer. So we have a condensation polymer. Then the best way for you to remember condensation polymer, all natural polymers are made of condensation polymerization. Now, the reason that we can give or that we can use to defend our stance here is because during the formation of this polymer, water is also produced. So we'll say because during the formation of this polymer, water is also formed. Or the other thing, condensation polymers are polymers that soften. That is another reasoning that we can write in the defense of our answer. Now let's look at Roman number 2. This should be 3. Draw the structure of the monomer used to synthesize this polymer. So the polymer we said is carbohydrate. So what are the monomers? Monomers for carbohydrate, we have glucose. Now what is the structure for glucose? So the structure for glucose is H, then we have O, then we have the box here, O and H. So this is also known as a diol. So di means 2, then O, L, this indicates that this is an alcohol functional group. So this means that a glucose has 2 functional group. That's why we have this diol. Now, Roman number 4, what type of linkage is found in this polymer? So we've already named it. So this is a glycosidic bond. So this is a covalent type of bond. So this is how we can apply the information based on polymers. Then my advice to my learners, also ever will come across this lesson, is one of the ways that will help you for this stuff to make sense is make sure as you are studying, study to understand, stop memorizing school stuff. So whenever you are studying, even if you are studying organic chemistry, mathematics, biology, physics, name any subject, the key here is make sure you understand it fully. Then whenever you understand that question, is you need to ask your question yourself or yourselves questions like how do we apply this kind of information? Then it has to make sense to you. Then the other thing is as you are studying, this school journey must be enjoyed. Make sure you enjoy the school life, then otherwise things will start to fall in place. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.